Good morning and welcome to Dobutsu Kyoji, the Animal Liberation Temple. Good morning, Pauline. So good to see you. Good morning, Yolanda. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning, Jess. Good morning, Tani. Good morning, Boslov. So good to see you. As you can see, it's really cold this morning. I have my hat on because I'm really cold. The cows are here visiting, so that's really beautiful and wonderful. The tortoises are out. Let's go through the update of our residents. Our ducks are in there eating this morning. The Breve, Grave, Amanda, and Renee, they're all doing really well. Our dogs, Lucy, here to my right. Unfortunately, you can't see her, but she's laying here to my right. I see Missy over there wandering around, and Bernard is over here in the sun, doing really well. Our goat friends, Rob, Matt, and Philip, are all doing really well. Then we have our three tortoises. Toshi and Tommy are already out. Miyachi is still sleeping. And then we have our tortoises, Harriet and Priya, who are finishing up their breakfast. Our roosters, Jack's over here and Jimmy over there, they're doing really well. Our guinea fowl friend Wendy is doing well. Our rooster friends Sabrina May, Hard One, Magnus, and Elton, all in the main area still doing really well. And then we have Brad and Kudo, who are in the rooster area now. So we finally built our new rooster area. I think I posted about it yesterday. That rooster area got built. The fences got re-cemented in. The netting was redone. Looks really beautiful. It looks really good, and that's all set up for them. I'm hoping to move some more roosters over there eventually. Our rat friends Yamabushi and Hasu are doing well. Our dove friend Sequoia is doing well. The Cornwall Corner with all our Cornishes, they're all doing good. Poppy, Aster, Ivy, Azalea, Peony, Cynthia, Lotus, Edward, Magnolia, Hazel, Sage, Marigold, Camilla, Hydrangea, Holly, Zinnia, all doing really well. And then we have our four pigeon friends, FP, Champagne, Appletini, Tulin, Sasha, Yo-Yo, Petey, Ricky, Spencer, Shambles, Beluga, Bath, Pee-wee, Cascade, Augustus, Frankie, Rufus, Harper, Elliot, Snickers, Boba, Kismet, Farrah, Angus, Pandora, Jones, Sin, Harriet, Lago, Fred, Tremonto, Halo, Vin, Campone, Thimble, Percy, Pacino, Lacey, and Sasha II, all doing really well. And then, of course, we have our four foster ducks and our foster turkey now, all doing really well. Good morning, Martin, and good morning, Jess. So good to see you folks here. I'm so happy that so many people tune in live. It really does help our algorithm a lot. It helps all you folks who are sharing our posts. We've been really trying to run our fundraisers a lot better this week and pushing a little bit harder. We're doing okay. All the animals have food. Like I said, that's always going to be a priority here. Personally, I'm out of human food, and hopefully that'll change soon. I'm out of fuel for heating. Heating fuel is completely gone now. And hopefully that'll change too. So things are struggling a little bit. I really wanted to get that rooster area done, so a lot of our funds went to make sure that was able to be finished up, and some material that needed to be bought to get that finished up. Again, we'll always prioritize the residents here, but it's been a little tough on the human residents. So helping, so many of you folks are sharing our posts, and that's really helpful. That's really helped us kind of get the word out there and see what else is happening. I went to a protest yesterday. That was really good. Being able to go to protests again. My car is running and working. It still needs a few things here and there to kind of make it a little bit safer, but I was able to get to the protest yesterday. So I was glad to participate in that. There's a protest against Trader Joe's nationwide. I believe there's going to be 24 protests this weekend, and so there was one in Berkeley yesterday that I attended, and that was really good to be able to speak up for our dear animal friends and speaking out against Petaluma Poultry, which is a slaughterhouse in Petaluma, and Trader Joe's, who specifically sources from them. Good morning, Pastor Rob. So good to see you here. Thank you so much. And I will have an updated credits reel at the end of today's services. But let's get started with today's prayers. Like I always mention, these prayers are dedicated to our dear animal friends. It's of great benefit for them to hear them. Not only live here for all my residents and my cow friends that are visiting this morning, but for folks at home with companion animals or just wild animals nearby. We'll start with the recitation of the Great Heart of Wisdom Sutra. Recited in Japanese, page 4 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. Maka hanya haramita shenyo kanji zai bosatsu gyojin hanya haramita jiso kengo ongai kudo isai kuyaku sharishi shiki fuku fui shiki shiki zoku ze kuku zoku ze shiki ju sogyo shiki yaku bunyo ze shari shi ze shouho fuso fusho fumetsu fuku fujo fuzo fugen ze koku shumu shiki mujuso yo shiki mugen ni bize shinni mushiki shoko mishoku ho mugen kai naishi mui shiki kai mumyo yaku mumyo jin naishi muroshi yaku muroshi jin muku shumetsu do muchi yaku mutokui musho toko bodai sakai hanya haramita koshin mukege mukege komuku funri isai tendo muso kuyo ne hansanze shobutsu e hanya haramita kotoku wa nokudara sanyaku sanbodai kochi hanya haramita zerai shinshu zerai myoshuze mujo shuze mutodo shunojo isai kushinjitsu fukoko zetsu hanya haramita shuzoku zetsu shuwatsu gyate gyate hara gyate haraso gyate boji sowaka hanya shingyo negu waku wa kono kudoko mote ama neku isai ni oyo Yoboshi warera toshija tomina tomono butsudo jozen koto o jiho sanshi oyo fushi son bosa fushi son bosa moko sa moko hoja horo mi. We'll now recite the refuge prayer in Tibetan and then in English. Sangye chodan suki chonam la janju pai tuk tekti gep suchi daki jinso kipe sonam ki drola pender sangye ju parsho. The Buddha, Dharma, and excellent assembly of the Sangha. Until I attain enlightenment in these, I take refuge. By my practice of the six perfections, may all sentient beings attain the state of Buddhahood. Now recite the four great Bodhisattva vows, Shigi Seigan. Shujo Muhen Seigando Bono Mujin Seigandan Omon Muryo Seigangak Butsudo Mujo Seiganjo. However numerous sentient beings, I vow to enlighten them all. However inexhaustible my delusions, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the dharmas, I vow to master them all. However endlessly enlightened way, I vow to follow it fully. We now recite the six vows to our dear animal friends. However numerous my dear animal friends, I vow to liberate them all. However diverse the methods of animal liberation, I vow to support them all. However unheard their voices, I vow to speak out for them all. However painful and inexhaustible the methods of suffering, I vow to bear witness to them all. However infinite the cages and tanks, I vow to empty them all. However difficult animal liberation, I vow to achieve it completely. We now recite the 100-syllable Vajrasattva purification mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samaya Anupalaya Vajrasattva Te Nopatisa Dredo Me Bhava Sito Sho Me Bhava Anurato Me Bhava Sava Sita Me Prayata Sava Karma Sita Me Sitim Sriyam Guru Hom Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sava Tata Gata Vajra Mame Mucha Vajri Bhava Mahasamamya Safaha. Good morning, Angie Bolin. So good to see you. Thank you for joining in live. Thank you, Pastor Rob, for sending a donation. And yes, Pauline, all the slaughterhouses will be closed one day. Oh, good morning, Tammy. Thank you so much. You love this different. A lot of people are liking this different sound, and maybe it's because the microphone's in a different place because it's coming from my MacBook. I'll listen to it later to kind of see what it sounds like. I just have a feeling the sound's not as rich as it should be, but maybe it's picking up more background sound, and that's good. And hopefully, with the mic I replace it with, I will continue to pick up background sound because I do think I agree that the background sound adds to the service. This morning, I want to talk about a subject that was brought up at the meetup this weekend that I was able to attend, and that is the topic of nonviolence. And what does that mean to each and every person? I kind of walked away from that like everybody has this like different meaning of nonviolence, and I first want to like cover some of the things that they covered. So these are not really my own thoughts, and then I want to get into my own thoughts about it. Um, but they specifically talk about nonviolence as the difference between nonviolence as one single word, NonViolence, nonviolence, one word, or non-hyphen violence, and what's the difference between those two. So non-hyphen violence usually refers to the idea of just not committing violence, right? So you see something, some sort of violent act happening in front of you, and you don't participate. I would liken non-hyphen violence towards veganism, right? Because you see, you go to the restaurant or the grocery store, and you see all this violence in front of you. You see like the corpses of your friends in front of you, and you choose to just not participate in it by taking a plant-based option, and so you kind of are just not participating in the violence. And this is a very good place to start your practice of nonviolence. You might see somebody. It's often likened to this idea of, unfortunately, this idea of you see somebody kicking a dog, and you don't run up and also kick the dog. That would be horrible. But maybe all you do is just and you don't get involved. And this would be non-hyphen violence. And so when we talk about non-violence without the hyphen, one word non-violence, that looks a little bit differently. That looks like this idea of, when you see somebody kicking a dog, you go over there and you stop it. Maybe I'll talk to the person and be like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this thing? Like, please stop. Or maybe I'll put my body in front of it. It's like, I have a stronger body than the puppy, so you need to kick somebody, kick me. This is the idea of like non-violence, right? When it starts to become something else, right? Maybe while this person is kicking the dog, I run over there and I punch the guy from kicking the dog to keep him from kicking the dog. Then this goes into the realm of violence, right? So we have non-hyphen violence, we have non-violence as a singular word, and then we have violence, right? And sometimes, a lot of people would argue that like me walking over and punching that person in the face to stop them from kicking the dog is the right thing to do. And maybe, and that's not really where I want to go with this. And my topic today on nonviolence is this idea: is what is your personal commitment? Where is your personal line? What are you willing to do, and what is the more effective way? I want to say that the Animal Liberation Temple is absolutely committed to nonviolence, singular word. That I don't believe that punching somebody in the face to stop them from kicking a puppy will ultimately serve future puppies that this person might want to kick. I don't think that I've lost the message on folks when we take violent actions to respond to violence. I think that this doesn't stop future violence from happening. I don't think that that person has learned any lessons. They've learned to like, oh, watch out, that guy's going to punch me. And, you know, maybe next time when I kick a dog, I better make sure nobody's standing around to see me kicking that dog. Or else, you know, some retaliation will happen. But rather, you know, I want to step in between these situations of violence and put myself on the line. You know, maybe I want to put my body in between the puppy and this person committing violence, and show them that you know, that people are willing to stand up for the oppressed, that people are not going to tolerate the violence, but that doesn't mean reacting with violence. That there is a non-violent way to do that, and that's simply one of those ways that we can practice that nonviolence. And like I said, there's a big spectrum here on like what you're willing to do. But I want everybody to like kind of question yourself, ask yourself, where is that line for me? Where, you know, how far do I take this idea of nonviolence, or am I just violent all the way? And I really wanted to bring this up because I see this happening in politics all the time, and on both sides of the spectrum, on the left and the right. I have my own political leaning, but that actually doesn't really matter, because this problem of violence to solve problems is committed on both sides. It really is, and this is something I think that we need to analyze a little bit better and ask ourselves what direction we want our world to go in, and ask ourselves, do we just want to continue the cycle of violence, or do we actually want to put an end to it, and how do we put an end to it? And what kind of commitment are we willing to put on the line to actually end violence towards all oppressed beings? Are we, you know, are we just willing to take the immediate action and punch the person in the face so it stops immediately? Maybe it's effective, right? But it's only helping maybe that one puppy, and maybe it's only helping the one situation. But it sets the example for the whole world that, like, when we have an issue, when we have a problem, when we oppose somebody, that the answer is violence. I want to you know, dive into a little bit too, and like, what is violence? I personally would, you know, there's a lot of definitions, and I personally would define this as, you know, causing harm to someone, and specifically, I think I like to look at the idea of oppression, who our actions might be oppressing, and if we are, you know, a part of the oppressors or encouraging the oppression of others. And that is something I think that the temple stands firmly against, is the oppression of others, because that oppression is, in fact, violence. If I want, you know, a certain group of people, and when I say people, I mean human animals, non-human animals, you know, I mean everyone. When I say people, I mean all living beings. If we think of them as other, then we're committing violence. If we think of them as less than, then this is violence. When we support the oppression of others, then this is violence. And I think this is where we need to really question ourselves and ask ourselves, who are we oppressing, and how can we change our minds to not allow this oppression? If we allow the oppression of one group, then we easily can, you know, our opposition can easily justify the oppression of others. And I think specifically when we talk about non-human animals, if we validate the oppressions of a particular human group, our opposition has the moral consistency to say that, well, non-human animals are, you know, can be oppressed too. And I think it's that oppression of either human or non-human animals um, that we have to stand up against. That we have to not support the oppression of any being. And that's really the only way I see a path forward with nonviolence, with a path forward um, to bring peace on this planet. And I know a lot of you folks out here who watch my live stream thinks that we're beyond that. And I want to challenge you all to to keep to keep working at it, right? I've often in the past encouraged folks to take part in protests and take part in um, uh, conversations and doing your part to make this world a better place. But it probably starts right here on evaluating how far do you expand your circle of compassion? How far do you expand your nonviolence? Does your nonviolence stop at this people group, or maybe your nonviolence stops at insects? When it comes to insects, I'm going to be violent. When it comes to this group of people, I'm going to be violent. And maybe question yourself about is there a people group? Is there a non-human group that you're willing to be okay with the violence? Because again, I'm not talking about non-hyphen violence, because non-hyphen violence, just means that I don't engage. I don't think that insects, I will not step on an insect, but if somebody else does, that's okay. If somebody else, sprays poisons, that's okay. And maybe question yourself if that's where you lie, right? And I encourage all of you to move beyond non-hyphen violence and at least embrace non-violence, singular word, and take an active stand against violence committed. And please, I implore you not to be on that farthest spectrum, which is the spectrum of violence and oppression. Please don't take that stance. So, often we talk about in Buddhism the middle way, and I'm careful about this subject because the middle way is sometimes misunderstood as taking non-action and taking the non-hyphenated violence as that's the middle way. Well, I'm not committing the violence. So therefore, the middle way is just not doing anything about it, and that's incorrect, because then what's the farther side of the spectrum? What's the opposite of violence, right? And so if the opposite of that is too far, then I need to land in the middle, right? And so what does that mean? Okay, and this is where I want everybody to understand that the middle path is the path of non-violence, singular word. So violence is on the farther side, and I implore everyone to not commit violence. And the polar opposite of that is non-hyphenated violence, and that is just not getting involved, just minding my own business, staying out of it. And either one of these spectrums is not a good way to live. And in fact, the way we do want to live is in the middle, and that is a path of non-violence, singular word, where we actively engage in opposing violence and opposing oppression, and this is really the path, the middle path that we want to follow. So that's a lot, and I hope people understood. I would love to talk about this more if people have questions about it. just gonna go over the comments to make sure I didn't miss anything. Nonviolent direct action. Yeah, sometimes we talk about, Neil mentioned this term, nonviolent direct action. And that's, directly getting involved in a situation and utilizing nonviolence, right? Nonviolent direct action would be, and a perfect example of that I talked about would be the idea of putting my body in between the person committing violence and the violence that's, the person who is receiving the violence. So in the example of the puppy, person kicking the puppy, I put my body in between to stop them from kicking the puppy, and then they can kick it instead. This would be an example of nonviolent direct action. Yeah, so Pauline brings up a really good point about, is property destruction violence? And there's a lot of arguments for or against this. I would say ultimately, it would depend on who the property, who owns the property, I would say. I think is one of the things that you need to take into consideration, right? So I feel that, if we damage somebody's personal property, that could be considered a threat of violence. I'm gonna take one of the examples that was given yesterday, right? Like, so if I'm in an argument with my spouse, which I don't have a spouse, but if I was in an argument with my spouse, and I grab a dish from the counter and I smash it to show my aggression or to show my anger, I didn't cause any physical pain to my partner, but I did violently destroy a piece of property to show my aggression. And I would consider this violent, right? And so I think that needs to be taken into consideration. However, when we talk about the example here that was given was a dairy corporation who has these trucks that are delivering milk, and somebody sabotages the tires and pops the tires on a dairy truck. And they do so when the vehicle stopped and nobody's in it, right? When they come to move the dairy truck, they just can't move it because the tires are destroyed. And it costs the corporation, the dairy corporation, a lot of money to replace those tires and so forth. And so is this an act of nonviolence? I would tend to agree it is. I don't necessarily advocate for that type of nonviolent direct action, as I don't know if that's received very well. If the general public receives that as nonviolent. I think that's part of framing and strategy, and those are debates that I think we can go on and on about. But I think specifically when I'm talking about nonviolence, I'm talking about making a decision on where you stand on all subjects and topics and all people groups, human and non-human people groups. Where do we stand on the idea of should we commit violence to them, or should we commit nonviolence to them? Or support of oppression or non-support of oppression, actively opposing oppression. The false notion of animals as property, violence in and of itself. This is absolutely true. I want to bring this up really, hopefully briefly, is that I firmly believe that going inside of a grocery store or a restaurant and standing up and passionately speaking about the violence that are committed to animals is absolutely nonviolent direct action. And it opposes violence that's going unseen and unheard every day. Because we view animals as property, and that people can just go into the store and buy them, is in fact an act of violence on its own. And when somebody stands up and speaks up against that oppression um, in public spaces, like restaurants, like grocery stores, people feel that these are um, maybe privately owned businesses, but they are public spaces. Public is allowed inside of a restaurant. A public is allowed inside of a grocery store, and so we're speaking about up against violence that is happening in public. These are not private spaces. This is not somebody's, home that we're going into. This is a public space. The public is welcome inside of these restaurants and grocery stores. And so when violence is happening in those spaces and we're speaking up against it, absolutely view that as an act of nonviolent direct action. And I absolutely agree that the notion of animals as property is in itself an act of violence. Yeah, and yes, Pauline, the dairy corporation, when you're talking about, sabotaging a dairy truck, you're talking about the corporation, the dairy corporation. And I mostly agree that this action would be nonviolent. I'm not sure about the strategic value of it. Although I would never disparage anybody from doing that. And then, in fact, I would never disparage anybody from property destruction. I wouldn't personally engage in that, and I personally not sure about the strategic benefit. But I would sooner criticize the opposition and those who are oppressing others far before I would criticize activists who are engaged in nonviolent direct action. I would sooner criticize the dairy industry. I'd sooner criticize those who are responsible for oppression, who support oppression, before criticizing those who are actively engaging in opposition of that violence and oppression. So, yeah, that is what I'm talking about. And yes, absolutely, Pastor Rob, I agree. Open the cages. Yeah, this is a great example of nonviolent direct action. Just opening up those cages and freeing our dear animal friends. We're not hurting anybody specifically. We're just opening cages, right? So Tammy brings up a really good point that I'm trying to understand this point really well, and that is that, like, we live in a world of violence. We live in a world where people are raised on violence and automatically resort to violence when faced with opposition, and that's really the only way they know how to react. And what do we do when living in a world like that? And I think this is really simple answer, but maybe not simple to implement. And that is understanding the idea that violence only leads to the cycle of violence, and peace leads to the cycle of peace. And that standing in opposition to violence, no matter what form it comes up from, is going to always be the right thing to do. Even if somebody is doing something that I personally don't believe in, violence is not the salute. Having a firm stance that violence is not the answer. So, for instance, if there's a human war going on, and I may swing and support one side over the other, thinking that one side is severely being more oppressed than the other side. That doesn't mean I support at all one side to react with violence. That because this country is being bombed, they should bomb the other country. That is just reacting with violence, and that is the the way this world does react to things. And unfortunately, we do live in that world. But it's important that we take that solid stance of nonviolence, that we don't support the bombing of anyone, regardless of what they've done or what what we think that, we talked about the difference between justice and revenge. And we want to live in a world full of justice and not in a world of revenge. We want to live in a world of rehabilitation and not punishment. I talked about that last week a little bit more. But I urge all of you, regardless that we live in a very violent world, just to take an active opposition to it. Whenever confronted with this opportunity to react violently, that we actively oppose that. And whenever we're confronted with violence, that we react with nonviolence rather than reacting with more violence. But it's difficult. I'm not saying this is an easy thing to do, but it starts right in your own personal lives, and it starts right. It's an exercise that we have to try to do. It's not something that we're going to change the entire world overnight. It's something that starts within ourselves. It starts with how we interact with each other. It starts with how we treat our non-human animal friends. This is where that practice of nonviolence, singular word, starts. But we're going to conclude today's service with the Animal Liberation Prayer and the dedication of merit. And then I'm going to do my best to walk around with my phone to do a quick sanctuary tour. But like I mentioned, because my iPhone, when it's being used as a webcam, it does not show what I'm looking at on my phone. So I have no way of pointing the camera in the right direction. I'm just going to do my best, and we'll see how that works. So we'll recite the Animal Liberation Prayer found on page 12, 13, and 14 of the Animal Liberation Temple Prayer Book. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who subject unbearable pain in labs throughout the world, be free of all suffering. May alternatives to animal experimentation, vivisection, and dissection be implemented immediately. May bodhicitta, the quality of compassion that leads to enlightenment, fill the hearts of those who imprison them. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who suffer endless days, months, and years, locked in tiny cages unable to move, be filled with peace and calm. May all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends who are forcibly taken from their families, be reunited, and may all families be able to stay together. May the hearts of those who work in slaughterhouses, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends be filled with bodhicitta, so the very thought of harm is purified. May they never kill again, and may the slaughterhouse lines, factory farms, and all industries that exploit our dear animal friends become immediately empty. May no animal be afraid or depressed. May their bodies be free of injuries, disease, and illness. May the mutilation of their bodies be forever ceased. May those who need homes or have been driven from them find shelter, plentiful food, and water. May there be liberation for those tortured for fur, entertainment, or who are hunted. May those who believe that they are superior to our brother and sister animals develop perfect equanimity, and may they realize in their hearts that all sentient beings possess Buddha nature, the potential to be completely free of suffering, and that they are not ours to kill or exploit. May the billions of land and sea-dwelling sentient beings who are abused, exploited, and killed due to greed, hatred, and ignorance be free of suffering. May all the nets, hooks, blades, projectiles, traps, snares, cages, pens, tanks, lethal restraints, saddles, reins, prods, bait, poison, and all instruments used to harm, exploit, and dominate our dear animal friends be forever abolished. May all human and non-human sentient beings live together in harmony, peace, equanimity, and achieve perfect enlightenment quickly. May we all experience happiness, safety, freedom, and animal liberation in this very lifetime. And we now recite the dedication of merit to our dear animal friends. Throughout our many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue we have accomplished, including this aspiration for peace, and all that we will ever attain, this we offer for the benefit of all sentient beings, especially our dear animal friends. May suffering, exploitation, and unnecessary death be decreased for every being, while wisdom, bliss, and compassion increase in this and every future life. May we clearly plight of our dear animal friends appear to see the seriousness they deserve, and their every action leads to some complete liberation. May we quickly attain enlightenment and then work ceaselessly for liberation of all sentient beings. At least hear me on the iPhone. There's Bernard. Look at that yawn. And their pond. The cows up the hill there. I don't know if you can see them or not. I have no idea if you can see anything. There's Sabrina. And Sunny. And one of our duck friends, Papa Duck. There is Elton. Elton the rooster. There's Dora. Hi, Dora. She was the one that was in the medical building for almost 2 weeks, and now she's out. Getting daily bath still. Our guinea fowl friend. Roger. Hey, Roger. I need to add you to the list of names, huh? Roger's one of our new residents. Magnus. And hard one to be really loud. So seeing that worked. One of the other things that I was able to get done was our link tree, and I wanted to share that with folks because I know that a lot of people have been posting that. I don't know if people are using it. So this is our link tree that you'll see when it comes up. You'll have our first way to donate, which is Venmo. I recommend people using Venmo because it doesn't charge us any fees. Venmo for some reason doesn't charge us any fees. Patreon's great if you want to become a monthly donor. So Venmo's here. It's simple, like you just sign in and that, is pretty simple. Patreon, for some reason it opens up to my, this is not what it'll look like. It'll look something like that. It'll have the same banner on it. But it is, this is my admin page. For some reason it opens up to my admin page. Our PayPal, simple, send the donation, simple click. Our YouTube channel, it automatically pops up as confirmed channel subscription, so please everybody just click subscribe to our YouTube channel because that'll help our algorithm and hopefully we'll be able to get that better. Here's our Instagram, which has a lot of our Instagram posts. If people share and like that, that'll be super helpful. This is our link to our website. If people haven't seen our website, is in bad need of updates, but we do have our website. And this is something new, our Amazon wish list. So for folks that don't want to just like donate cash, they don't know what they're paying for, there's some items on here that'll help our live stream. Some of the flooring stuff that we needed. This is, we have our security lights that'll help with keeping predators away, some pond cleaner. I think there's some cameras that we would really like to get. And a little pigeon feeder that we could use. So that's our Amazon wish list for people who want to do it that way. Here's a direct link to the Animal Liberation Temple prayer book that you could just order directly through Amazon, or you could order it through me. However, we've been having a little bit of difficulty getting it sent to us. I'm still working on that because I have a couple orders coming in to me so I can send them out. They should be here any day now, but it's taking longer than I thought. And then here's just a simple, like, our contact us page where it has our email address, my phone number. You can call or text me anytime to get in direct contact with me. And then if you wanted to like mail a check, this would be the address that you'd mail it to. So yeah, I just wanted to share with folks our our link tree, see if that helps folks. Like I said, we're in pretty desperate need right now of donations. Um, but we're still getting some, and we're very grateful for the little that we get, and make sure everybody here is eating right. Like we always have food for everybody. We're always making sure people are, our residents are getting the best care. But we'll conclude today's services. Thank you everybody for joining in live. Um, Make sure you stay around for our credits. Live stream from the. I've been working on that actually, Yolanda. Is getting a 24/7 live stream going, where you could like have access to our security cameras. I just got to figure out how to do that, what that would look like, but that might be an option. But thank you everybody for again joining us here at the Animal Liberation Temple, where we are at the service of the spiritual and physical liberation of our dear animal friends. And please stay for the credits. Thank you. Thank you again. Everybody have a wonderful week. Hope to hear from everybody this week. Please reach out to me if you have any ideas or questions about nonviolence. I'm here to help as much as I can. And I'm always here to support all of you folks out there in any way I possibly can. Have a wonderful week.